Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this Wednesday's edition of Carry On, brought to you by Nation's Finest, where our mission is to support America's military veterans and their families with a comprehensive approach to housing, health, and employment that helps them to achieve self-sufficiency and reach their full potential. If you or a veteran you know needs help, or if you'd like to make a donation, please visit nationsfinest.org or call 833-468-9676. Again, that's nationsfinest.org or call 833-468-9676. I'm your host, Mark Miller, Army veteran and Communications Director for Nation's Finest. Today, we continue our International Olympic-themed coverage with Captain Mark Ruban of the Canadian Armed Forces joining us to talk about the importance of alliances and international working relationships. Captain Ruban has been a Reserve Public Affairs Officer with the Canadian Armed Forces for 12 years. He currently works full-time with the Canadian Armed Forces Employer Support Program, which is like the Employer Support Program for the National Guard or Reserve Forces here in the United States. Captain Ruban has deployed overseas twice, first in 2016 to support NATO's deterrence measures in Eastern Europe, and then in 2020 to support partners' capacity building in the Middle East. In his civilian career, Mark has worked in government relations and communications roles for the cities of Toronto and the province of Ontario. Mark holds a bachelor's degree in public affairs and a master's degree in public relations and corporate communications. He joins us today from the true north, strong and free. Captain Mark Ruban, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Mark, thanks very much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you being here. So first off, I just want to start by saying the recent victory of the Canadian women's team over the U.S. women's team in soccer, well earned, pretty close penalty kick there, but well earned. Congratulations!
It was a close game. It was definitely a great game to watch, and if I remember correctly, that was a bit of payback for our big loss in 2012. So, anyways, we're very happy with the way things turned out.
Well, as you should be, and certainly the payback and the rivalry back and forth, we certainly have for years to come, I'm sure.
All in the spirit of a friendly competition, of course.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up. Friendly competition. You know, the Olympics are going on now. We're all getting to tune in. The world is getting to tune in and watch some of the greatest athletes from across the world compete in friendly competition and some familiar flags on people's uniforms. So let's talk about that a little bit as a member of the Canadian Armed Forces, and you've been around the world a bit, and as we have in the U.S. Armed Forces. And how do you see the Olympics perhaps a little bit differently than your counterparts in the civilian world that maybe haven't traveled as much or seen as much as you have?
Well, first of all, I mean, when I think of the Olympics, I'm just super impressed at the skill and the talent that these athletes bring to their sporting events. Really, they're capable of doing things that from my perspective are almost superhuman, and again, just truly impressed at what they can do. I guess on another level, I'm kind of grateful that nations are able to meet in that spirit of friendly competition, just to play sports together, bring your very best that you possibly can, and just celebrate good sports, that good competition, and whoever wins, but you can certainly play it out in a way that's fun, fair, and that everyone can get involved in a very healthy way, which is probably it's nice to see, because as you know very well, we see too often on the news instances where groups or countries compete in very destructive ways. So this is a very welcome change to what we sometimes see.
Agreed 100%. The bad news can pile up sometimes, so it's heartening to see all these all these countries in friendly competition, shaking hands afterwards, and being able to smile and all compete friendly in the Olympics together. With your experiences in particular, some of us watch the Olympics now and see a flag or a nation represented, and we don't just think of a place on the map. We think of a place that we've walked, that we've seen, maybe people we know. So could you talk about that in terms of those friendly alliances, that friendly competition, in terms of some of the work you did in Eastern Europe?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, as you mentioned, when you hear of certain athletes competing at the Olympics, or getting to step on that podium and you see their flag, it really does bring back memories of the cities that we've been able to travel to in our work with the military, or even as part of personal travel, but a lot of it was with the military. And one example, I guess, of one of my deployments to Eastern Europe, just to give a bit of context, was that really in the wake of Russia's invasion of Crimea in 2014, and then the ongoing conflict in eastern Ukraine, NATO put a lot of effort into reassuring the allies on the alliance's eastern flank, and put a lot of effort into, frankly, deterring further aggression from Russia. And as part of those efforts, I was able to deploy with a contingent of Canadians to help demonstrate the solidarity of the alliance. So we were based in Poland, but we were participating in a variety of NATO exercises and training activities with our partners and allies. So we were based in Poland, but we went up to Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, Romania, the Czech Republic. We were really the AOR really was Eastern Europe. And we participated in some very neat training activities. Like I remember an anti-tank, anti-armored exercise in Lithuania. There was a sniper exercise in Estonia. We did a lot of helicopter-borne aerial assault exercises with the Poles. So a lot of great opportunities to not only ensure that we could operate alongside one another if the need should come to that, but it was also a great chance just to really learn from other countries. We have similar ways of doing a lot of different strategies and tactics, but there's always room to improve our knowledge and to learn from each other. And so and in addition to that, really at a very human level, it's a chance just to get to know one another and get to, through the people you meet, experience a different culture, learn about the history of a different part of the world. And that kind of knowledge is just so beneficial, right? It really helps you be more effective on operations, frankly, because if you have that ability to interact in a cross-cultural setting, that just helps you so much. And it just gives you extra knowledge that's good to have, just so that you can understand other cultures, other ways of doing things. And one of my good fond memories of my time in Eastern Europe was working with another public affairs officer, a Polish fellow who was great at helping me connect with audiences in Poland, helping me understand some of the dynamics there, and just understanding more about the culture, which again is just so valuable. You really cherish those kinds of connections, those kinds of opportunities.
Certainly, the importance of those friendships, the cultural understanding, and like you said, that resonating message of we're here for you, and we're going to all be here together should anything happen. Definitely reassuring to everyone involved. Yeah. Now, your memories of working with a Polish public affairs officer sound pretty professional there, but tell the truth. He showed you where to find the good pierogies, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely he did. And sure enough, you'll never find better pierogies anywhere other than Poland.
I would have to agree with that. They certainly wrote the book on that.
Yeah.
So hearing about your experiences in Eastern Europe and kind of the cross-cultural and cross-border operations that you were involved in, some of the friendships you made, What was similar and what was different when you look at that versus your experience in the Middle East and the deployment that you did there?
Well, again, a lot of it was very similar. So just any opportunity to work alongside a foreign military was really special, was really unique. An opportunity to do the work that we were asked to do, and at the same time learn about a different part of the world, and that's awesome. And again, just to provide context, so after ISIS took over large parts of Syria and Iraq, there was a huge multinational effort to combat ISIS, and then beyond that to strengthen the defensive capabilities of our partners in the area. So I was based in Kuwait, but a lot of our training work was done in Iraq, Jordan, and Lebanon. We were offering training on things like counter IED, logistics, CIMIC, and actually in Lebanon, one of the courses we were offering was winter operations. So as it turns out, Canadians have a little bit of a specialty in winter operations, and so we were able to teach things like how to operate a snowmobile, how to patrol using snowshoes, and how to build a snow shelter, things like that. And one of my experiences in Lebanon was again very vivid, having great conversations with one of our interpreters who just helped me understand more about the complexities of the region. And there's so much history there, so many cultures and socioeconomic political dynamics to understand, and that kind of knowledge again is so important to have, not only in an operational context, but again just more broadly when you're trying to understand kind of what's going on in different parts of the world.
I think that's a great point, and so interesting that you were there in the Middle East teaching folks in Lebanon how to deal with cold weather operations. Obviously, I wouldn't argue that Canadians are probably a pretty good authority on that versus the rest of us. And I'm sure the folks over there in the Middle East found that pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, as it turns out, there's a large part of Lebanon's border region is very mountainous, and once you get high enough, there's a lot of snow that falls, and part of enhancing their defensive capabilities. In this case, we were able to support in that regard. So yeah, definitely happy to help, happy to share any knowledge that we can.
Well, and it's just a terrific example of how all of us, depending on what culture we come from or what geographic region we come from, that kind of lends to our expertise and what our strengths and weaknesses are. Exactly.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about being able to work in a multinational setting, right? Is just we all bring something different to the table, not only in terms of military hardware and capabilities, but also in terms of different skills and knowledge in operating in different environments. So if we can share that with our partners and allies, then that's only a good thing.
Makes us all that much stronger. So in that vein, looking at the big picture, we've talked about the Olympics and the togetherness that brings across nations. You've talked about your experience in Eastern Europe and in the Middle East. So if you could wrap that all into a nutshell for us, what would you like to share with our viewers about the importance of alliances, maybe not just between nations, but between people across countries, across borders? Leave us with your thoughts there, if you would, Mark.
Yeah, well, I suppose on a macro level, we have the opportunity to work alongside countries that frankly share our values and interests. There are a lot of countries that believe in the same democratic values, the freedom of expression, freedom to vote, human rights, those kinds of things. It really takes a united effort to be able to protect those values. And there are frankly a number of threats to those beliefs, to our way of life, and it's important that we face those together. So that's on a macro level. when we can all get together to regardless of which flag we have on our shoulder, if we share those beliefs and we can show a united front that we are going to stand together to protect those values, then that's only going to help us in both the short term and the long term. And then on a smaller scale, well, I would say again, just anytime we get to work alongside members of foreign forces, again, it's just such an enriching experience. You get to learn more about their language, about their way of life, about their culture, and you just get to see things slightly differently. And that's a good thing, because it allows you to be better not only in operations, regardless of what part of the world we might be working in, but it also helps us just to understand things more broadly. And I'm of the opinion that any knowledge is good to have, and anything that helps us to understand things in a different light is also beneficial.
We definitely gain that understanding and perspective by working together, operating together in the military. But you're right, just on a personal level, kind of understanding the perspectives of other people out there gives you that personal growth and that personal perspective. And I know I've definitely enjoyed that with you and your Canadian perspective for the years that we've been friends, both through the military and academically, and I'm sure the same for many other folks out there working across those international borders. So really appreciate your insights and your thoughts on that today. Captain Mark Ruban, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Mark, for having me, and thanks to your audience also for their interest. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for being here, Mark.
Take care.
And thank you to all of you who joined us today. We'll be back next week discussing issues relevant to veterans and those who care about them. Again, if you or a veteran you know needs help, or if you'd like to donate, please visit nationsfinest.org or call 833-468-9676. Again, that's nationsfinest.org or 833-468-9676. Thank you again for joining us, and as always, carry on.